back. The long walk of the Navajo begins.
I suppose that there was the general purpose, as history shows, was to isolate and to civilize and to Americanize Navajo people.
My grandma, who was captured, she did not have any blankets or any extra clothes. It was just what she was wearing. She wore that all the way and mended over and over again. By the time they got to Fort Sumner, they didn't have any shoes.
Navajo omens of the fearing time came true.
Bosque Redondo, they call it Huelte. And the stories that the Navajo people tell about being so hungry and so starved up, some of the soldiers' reports say that when Navajos walked into the fort, a lot of them were just naked, almost completely naked. They might just have a piece of fabric to cover their private parts.
The long walk of the Navajos didn't occur in one mass exodus. Archaeologist Dr. Neil Ackerley documents 53 journeys, beginning in August 1863. Ackerley reports groups numbered from about 20 to 2,400.
Oh, dapat all ini saya coy kita hotel orang saya hon hotel kato saya hak kita saya sota long saya do otas jenis saya dah hon do saya hon dari sejauh saya ada anak tu hotel.
General Carleton wrote on November 22, 1863, "See that they're treated with great kindness. Let Captain Fritz have 4 worn Sibley tents for the use of the women and children. You'll please give your personal attention to see that these Indians are well cared for."
The American soldiers were under strict orders to treat the Navajos kindly and fairly. After all, this was an experiment to prove to the Navajos that you can become Christians and farmers, and you know, if you can't even get them to the site without killing them, then this failure, then this experiment is going to be a failure.
At a kid at Danjoni, sheen it at that decay that your aid as she isn't that they thought that she at that in.
Thousands of Navajos walked wagon roads and difficult terrain. They were taught to never leave a homeland defined by sacred peaks.
They were not, it was not just moving along. It was people were dying, people were crying, and just people tried to escape, but there was no escape.
The girl that I described wasn't the only girl that was pregnant. There was a lot of others. And in the story, some of them were left. The ladies did bring kids into the world. They said they just let them wrap under a tree.
There were also New Mexicans, Utes, and Pueblos that also came down and attacked them along the way. There was not enough soldiers, escort, for protection. And then so many of the people died along the way.
Navajos were marched beyond their sacred Blue Bead Mountain.
The journey began and the soldiers were all around us. All of us walked. Some carried babies. Little children and the elderly stayed in the middle of the group. We walked steadily each day, stopping only when the soldiers wanted to eat or rest. We talked among ourselves and cried quietly. We didn't know how far it was, or even where we were going. All that was certain was that we were leaving the Natka, our home.
Sat a khot an le da khot nol khalashin sat da chen da ho ga to tapa da ho ga a ko to hi ne ho ta chen ta hi gi shin ta to te ya e avet nel khat.
Had to be in a group because these soldiers would just get them there and molest them, and that's what my grandmother told me.
Many Navajos refused to surrender. They escaped capture in remote areas of the West. Some went to Navajo Mountain and Black Mesa. Others went to the chasms of Grand Canyon. The maze of Canyonlands was refuge. Navajos resisted. Navajo warrior Gus Bighorse tells of 30 warriors who stayed near Navajo Mountain.
What this story reminds us is that we have probably exaggerated in our history the percentage of the Navajos who went on the Long Walk. There were thousands of Navajos who did not go on the Long Walk.
Manuelito, the defiant spirit of the Navajos, resisted capture.
He was a very imposing man. I think he was over 6'3" in height, and just had this, I think, this aura about him that people knew immediately that he was a leader.
Navajo oral history tells of people hiding on mesas near Monument Valley.
There's Navajo people that said we never went to the Long Walk. We conquered the U.S. in dealing with this, and this is, it's very fresh in their minds today.
The other thing is that what followed the marches, the captives walking, you also had slavery.